Assalamu alaikum, folks. All right, let me just check that we are live. All right, I take it you can hear me all fine and well. Un momentico, let me just get a confirmation. Whilst I do that, I'm just going to go into settings. I'll just hear if you guys drop a message that you can. All right, so I take it you can hear me fine and well. Bi'idhnillah. All right, Bismillah. Eid Mubarak. Eid Mubarak, people. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Inna alhamdulillah wa kafah. والصلاة والسلام على رسوله المصطفى وعلى عباده الذين ارتضى ومن بهداهم اهتدى وبآثار أهل المدينة اقتفى وبعد فسلام الله على القوم. أهلا وسهلا وعيد مبارك عليكم جميعا آمين. Right, بخير راغلي, بخير راغلي. So, what is going on, people? What is going on? You know, it was one of those days, and I thought, when you just, you kind of, you you kind of lagged almost like jet lagged. And I'm and then a side of you thinks, yeah, because I was thinking it's Wednesday night. Kuch meaning with MALM ho jaye. But then I'm thinking, it's just one of those days, I don't know if I should go live tonight. But that's the time you have to do it, people. When you second guess yourself, when you doubt yourself, whatever it is in life, that's the time that you step forward. Allah. Kya baat hai, huh? Kya baat hai. That it's Jigar Muradabadi who says, in line with that thought, that Rahe Wafa mein ek aisa maqam bhi aaya कि हम खुद अपनी तरफ से भी बदगुमा निकले. Wow, that is something, huh? He has the couplet before that where he says, खता मुआफ जमाने से बदगुमा होकर तेरी वफा पे भी क्या क्या हमें गुमा गुजरे. बहुत हसी सोहबतें गुलों की मगर वो जिंदगी है जो कांटों के दरमियां गुजरे. Wow. Eid Mubarak, people. Eid Mubarak to you all. I hope Allah has blessed you all. Ameen. And He has. He certainly has. It's this month that has, there was something I felt special this Ramadan. Wallahi. After a while, I think it had been quite a while, if I dare say. I think in the years that had, I don't know, I'd been feeling for a few years not quite the connect that I would have liked to have felt in Ramadan. And, a few years back, dare I say, Allah forgive us, that it may have even felt like a drag, wal-'iyadhu billah, that, yeah. But last Ramadan, there was something. The last Ramadan, there was somewhat of an awakening, somewhat. And this Ramadan was just very different in a very positive way. And I don't mean by that sure, I I try to reconnect with the Quran. I try to in a personal way, but I could have done a lot more. I could have done I just like every other person out there, in my own way, lazy, in my own way, pathetic. But I'm not talking about the quantity of things that were done. I'm talking about the quality of experience. Yeah. And I tell you, I felt by the end of Ramadan. There was the moon sighting issue at the end. I, is there a Ramadan without that? But after years, after years, that when it approached, and it was unexpected. I was not expecting there to be, because everybody began Ramadan together. And dare I say that, with MBS in Saudi Arabia, things are slightly changing. And I didn't think there would be a unexpected announcement of an early Eid. But lo and behold, there was. Apparently a sighting from the towns of Sudair and Tumair in Saudi Arabia. Now, in years, the first time I felt, no, I want to fast, like a longing that Ramadan is longer. And it was for many people. I mean, I did the 30 days of Ramadan, but the point being that but I felt, and not just for me, for people, I felt a cleanse of sorts, a spiritual and emotional cleanse, a physical. I try to watch my diet, watch what I eat, a mental, a social cleanse. I felt, it's crazy how, I'm telling you, there have been portals unlocked during this Ramadan, the blessings of which will continue to flood our way. We will experience it throughout this year. Ameen. Yeah. But more importantly, I thought, yeah, let's see how the Jama'ah is doing. Allah, Allah. So I got Akraman Rushkanov. Allah, Eid Mubarak. You have an atrocious day-night routine. Ameen, Ameen. May Allah give me a steady schedule. To be fair, part of what enabled me to do this late visit tonight was the fact that tomorrow in the UK is, for the most part, is a teacher's strike. So there's no school. So I thought, yeah, since I'm not going to be dropping off my young'un to school tomorrow, chalo yaar, a little line, although I do have other work and appointments, but still, I thought, yaar, a little extended. Why not? Let's indulge a little. So, va. So, who do we have online, people? Kevin Kiley. Vah, what a name. Doing it, Kevin. Eid Mubarak. Amy, Lucy, marhaban, Amy. Assalamu alaikum. Rami Saeed. No, Rami Nazim Eid Saeed. Look at that. See, we've got, all right, who have we got here? Uthman Gul Muhammad. सो जाएं आप तो अभी जागे हैं हुजूर सो जाएंगे यार सो जाएंगे अभी सोना भी है why not Scorpio, how you doing right Bilal Khaja what is going on there was a question here right ये एक सलाम तो बनता है Ameen. Of course. Um, what is Daniel? Daniel, not our beloved Daniel from the United States. Another Daniel. Allah. Oh, hello, keep up the logical, rational, kind, funny. Kya baat hai yaar? Flattering me with his words. If only there were more people. There's many people. We are all, in many ways, but a reflection of each other. Yeah. Watching from Houston. Wow. Houston, we have a problem, huh? The good old phrase. I wonder if people just go around Houston saying that. So I will be taking on some live calls. Look at this. Let us hope portals were open for all during Ramadan. They were. There's been, what's this? Thoughts on the Danny Boy versus inspiring philosophy debate. What was the inspiring philosophy debate? I missed these things, I don't I don't get, yeah, unless somebody sends something to me. I've kind of I don't find these things that fascinating, and their debates and their I don't find them very meaningful. I don't even think necessarily a lot of people are that talented in debating, but that's a different discussion. But I don't find these things very rewarding. I don't feel any barakah in these things. So I don't really watch them. If somebody sends something to me, and maybe if it catches me on a day that I just happen to be lounging about, I might actually end up watching it. I might. So, yeah, I've not heard of this debate. So I don't know what happened in it. What were the key things? Maybe somebody will Very cringy, somebody said. It's a debate about what? About child marriage. Toba toba. What's that? The the allegory of the crabs in a bucket. Huh? you know, you put a crab in a bucket and it tries to, and provided it's not impossible to climb out of, the crab just crawls and crawls and crawls and tries to make its way out. But you put a bunch of crabs in the bucket, and as one goes up, the others kind of pull it down and break its legs. So it's like, I this is it, huh? This is a reflection that's of the Muslim community at large, huh? There's child. Don't tell me for the love of God that they're justifying child marriages. Ya salam. I hope not, but I dread yes. Basically, Daniel was arguing that child marriage is okay. Mm. Ah, yeah, it's what's this? He said as young as 4-year-olds, it's permissible. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Ah, honestly, disgusts me to the core. People say these things. They no sense of haya and sharam, and these. You have to not let these people ruin your. Let them not provoke you with their toxicity, because it's very toxic people, right? They're very radioactive, man. And I honestly, wow, I would not be sitting in a conversation with someone who's trying to justify to me that that you can marry a 4-year-old. That person is either mentally deranged or they need to be put in a cage. That person is not. Because you can't. That's not a logical conversation to be had. That is just a disease that is disguised as some form of dialogue or discussion or academia. There is no academia in pedophilia, right? There is no logical discussion about it. It's disgusting. It is a disease, okay? A mental disease. It doesn't matter if the person prays 5 times a day. It doesn't matter if the person's not a Muslim. It doesn't matter what faith they are a part of. This is not a discussion to be had. Yeah. May Allah give hidayah, ameen, and just, may Allah bless the Muslims with His light, that they may find it. I don't understand why people gravitate towards such, just such words of monstrosity. Like, why do people find comfort in that? It's, I don't know. I don't want to know. I don't want to know. So, yeah. So, hmm. It is. But you also find, in a way, these things are a reflection of much greater issues, because you have to remember that these people that go around saying these things, they are only in that position because the people empower them. The people want to watch them. They like them. That these people have an immense following. So people obviously like them. People support them, fund them. And so, yeah, so I guess it's not just these particular individuals, it's the people at large. Yeah. But khair, let's not preoccupy our minds with these people. Yeah. Mrs. Danny experienced trauma, and that generally causes a sense of lack of control in life. From that particular rendition of Islam. May Allah, if he suffered trauma, I've heard about, his sister and the tragedy. May Allah bless her afterlife. May Allah grant him ease. Make things easy for him. Make things easy for his family. I mean, these things are, for anyone, these things are catastrophic tragedies that would turn anybody's entire existence on its head. Okay, so may Allah make things easy and soothe that pain. But sometimes there is and this isn't about him specifically. This is just generally. There's this saying that hurt people hurt people. That there is a pain that sometimes people have, and they may be justified in having their pain. But unless they relinquish, unless they heal, unless that pain they allow through those wounds, the light, the transcendental light, to reveal itself, they unintentionally, unwillfully visit that pain onto other people around them. Yeah. Khair, may Allah grant healing to each and all. Ameen, ameen. Right, let's not. There's a lot of comments about Daniel. Enough. Don't. Khair, don't. If you can't speak well of someone, just be silent. Let them be. Let them find their own path. At most, what you can do is you can make dua for someone. May Allah bless them with His light. It's a different paradigm. Yeah, let them be. Focus on yourself. Yeah. Right. Did you watch the marathon interviews? Nope, I didn't. What are the difference? Do you have beef with Muhammad Hijab? Do I have beef with Muhammad Hijab? No, I don't have beef with Muhammad Hijab. No, I don't know. I have been in touch with Muhammad Hijab for, It's been maybe coming up to almost 2 years now, just under. And we do have some mutually good friends. So some, good friends of mine are also good friends of his. But no, I don't. I think what you're referring to is probably the incident which is about 2 years ago. And yes, I was very upset with Muhammad Hijab at the time. And one, two other people. Yeah. Because it was wrong. It was very irresponsible what they did. And they, maybe not with I accept, they said that, look, we didn't want, that's not what we ever intended. But they really fueled at the time a very powerful hate campaign against me. Very powerful hate. I mean, obviously Muhammad Hijab has a huge following, huge. So for him to make short videos cutting out I think a 15-second clip, twisting it, and then even saying I'm not even aware I said these words, that was highly irresponsible at the time, highly. And it wasn't just highly irresponsible, it actually it it catalyzed the entire hate that was going on. So yes, I at the time did hold him in part responsible, although I accept he wasn't directly involved, and I also accept that he, may not have wanted something like that to have happened. I accept that. But it's also undeniable that his role catalyzed what happened. He was one of the catalysts. Unbeknownst, sure, people do things, but they, maybe they don't think before they do the kind of how huge this will go. So yeah, so at the time I was, but that's now just going about 2 years ago. But there's something in our deen. We have this concept called tawfiq, which is connected to the word tawafuq in Arabic, a coming together. And in psychology, in Jungian psychology, you have this this thing that I'm explained by Carl Jung as synchronicity. Synchronicity. That a series of events comes together in a way that there may not be a direct cause and effect between them, but they come together in a way. And Carl Jung referred to that as synchronicity in his lectures. And this, in Arabic, this tawafuq. Okay. And this, I must say that at that time, after the incident, I did, I for a while took a break and from social media. I just spent more time with my family, but I also spent more time just reflectively on things. And I also sought the counsel in those weeks and months that ensued, the counsel of certain, spiritual people. And one of the best advice, that was worth its weight in gold to me at the time was that I have to learn to let go. That I must not harbor, and it was one of the most difficult things to do at the time, that I must not harbor negativity towards people. That if I can overcome that hurdle, if I can do that, that then and only then will there be a different maqam. And it was incredibly difficult at first, but I did. I learned to let go of it all. And what I was advised by this person, s- who's very, whose spirituality I take dearly, and he said to me that, look, to let go, you must make dua for them because it costs you nothing to make dua for them. But if you can wish well for someone in their absence with nobody around, just you can do it, and you don't even like them. Let's say you're angry with someone, like this person has, I've had an argument with them, or that person I've had a row with them, or this person has had a conflict with you, or they've fired you from work, or they've done this to you, or they've done that to you, or maybe you've but you have this in your heart. That's the last person on earth you want to wish anything well for. But if you can do that, if you can do that, you will see the floodgates of Allah's mercy open upon your world. But you must, it's crazy because it's like it costs you nothing, yet it's as though it costs you your life and the world to do it. But if you do it, everything around you will start to transform. And that's something that I then went through, that if I can call it a journey. Uh, And yeah, so by the end of it, yeah, I did, I had no ill feelings towards anyone. I, and I messaged all of these people, many people I messaged, and some maybe direct and some through people. I message them, and I express this in there, that I've, let go, and I do make dua. May Allah bless them and, you know, keep them happy. Ameen. So yeah, so so coming to that's now probably been about, over a year and a half ago. So it's been a long time, and yeah, and I saw, the person that said that to me, they weren't they weren't wrong. You need faith in life, isn't it? They said to me, you will see a universe of Allah's mercy opening upon you in ways that you could never have imagined. Just take the step. I'm so glad I did. I wish them well. I mean, so yeah, coming to the question. Uh, hmm. Right, Mufti, can you please do a clip on Ibadis? You will always be the one that changed my whole outlook on religion. It is Allah that changes, and it is you that takes the step in that direction. You see, there is a beautiful hadith Qudsi that when my person takes one step towards me, uharwil, I come running towards you. That is Allah, you see. Yeah. So, right, Andrew Barocco. What a name. Barocco, I like it. From a third party Christian perspective, why do people hate on the Mu'tazila so much? They had such fascinating aqidah, in my honest opinion. The Mu'tazila, um, right, so that's a fascinating question. The Mu'tazila have been an incredible and invaluable contribution to the Islamic legacy of intellectual thought. Unquestionably, unquestionably. I think what's happened along the way is people have, because of sectarianism, the sectarian turf wars have naturally done a lot of damage to any religion, any, and Islam is no exception to that. Sectarianism is a cancer, and yeah, and the way that said, it's interesting because if you if you take a look at the Mu'tazila, despite the Mu'tazila right now, now there is something which people forget to, they are all too quick in forgetting that the Mu'tazila were extremists. Like you have to remember that as well. But the latter day Mu'tazila kind of, I think they tried to shy away from the extremism angle. They didn't denounce it because they still write in their books about it, like Qadi Abdul Jabbar in his Usul al Khamsa and all. You have to remember the first principle of they have Usul al Khamsa. The first principle is that if you commit a sin, any sin in Islam, you are no longer a Muslim. So that is a goddamn extremist view. They say you're not exactly a full-on kafir, but you're not a Muslim either. So they invented a purgatory state known as al-manzila bain al-manzilatayn. And this is their first asl of the usul al-khamsa. So that's the first principle that all Mu'tazila must abide by. Now, that, as far as principles go, is bloody extreme. Yeah. So they were extremists. However, I think with time they didn't deny that extreme element of them, but they kind of delved more and more into intellectual, kind of debates and yeah, just wizardry, one could say, intellectual wizardry. They were phenomenal in there. So some of the leading grammarians were all Mu'tazila, the Nahwiyin, the people of Sarf. You had the ulama of Balagha, Zamakhshari. You had they were phenomenal in their kind of reasoning and logic, and not to forget that people like yeah, what's his you know um the god it's on the tip of my tongue. The tufra, the tufra of Nadam. Let's not forget that it's been documented in our times as one of the contributory thoughts towards quantum mechanics of the future. And the Tufra of Nadam was one of um, the kind of precursors to quantum mechanics. It's crazy, it's like these people, they were something, yeah, of, and what's fascinating is the early ulama did not, for generally speaking, call them kafir. Like Imam Malik would not refer to these people as kafirs. They would refer, sure, they considered them, a different sect. They themselves were a different sect. There's no denying that. But they were not called kafir. Like people didn't say these people are kafirs, and maybe some people did, but the most of the imams and the early ulama of this ummah did not declare them kuffar. So that's very telling as well how the ummah, how it liaised with one another. Al-Jahid, of course, and other people, yeah. Right. Uthman Gul Muhammad. It is amazing to learn from. Oh, Allah bless you. How can anyone need counseling professional during struggles, no matter being a spiritual teacher, how knowledgeable you are? How anyone can need counseling or professional help during struggles? Yeah. No, of course, everybody. We all need it. Um, I think, there's a beautiful verse of the Quran, ذَكِّرْ فَإِنَّ الذِّكْرَى تَنْفَعُ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ, that remind one another. Why? That a reminder, it is of benefit to those who have faith. So, of course, yeah, we all, I must say, I really value as well, beyond just like the kind of recourse I have to whether it's going to be spiritual guidance from certain people or whether it's going to be just counsel from friends. Like, I do value my circle of friends. It's a very, it's a priceless kind of comfort in life to have true friends that are on, not only is it a very healthy space of like-minded individuals, but it's also people who grow and they want to watch other people grow. They don't carry envy, hatred, negativity, toxicity. Um, yeah, I don't think I'm a very social person, so I can't imagine life without a healthy circle of friends. They say you are the average of of your five friends. If you're to select five, like, you are an average amongst them. So it is imperative that you have a healthy circle of friends, people that you can connect to, people that you can just have an honest conversation with, people that you can throw your thoughts at. They won't just shut you down. People that won't break you down. It's important. The amount of people. This is another tragedy that I see so many people who don't actually have a circle of friends. Like, they have friends, but they're not actually like solid kind of friends. They're just like, maybe they have one, two friends that they could, I don't know, maybe go somewhere with or something, but not in the true meaning of the word, which is a shame, really. Which is a shame, yeah. That's something I would advise everyone, that grow a circle of friends. If you don't have one, grow it. You must have a circle, not just one or two, a circle of friends. And maybe, you have common interests, you have maybe common goals. Maybe you're different. You don't have to have the same type of goals. Like, maybe everybody wants to prosper and thrive and be successful, but the manifestation of that may be different for different people. For you it might be one thing, for that person it might be, maybe they want to prosper in a career, maybe this person in a business, maybe this person in an art, maybe this person in a but there's a yeah so that is something really important. Yeah. All right, did I miss, let me see some questions that I missed. What's this? Mufti Saab, those negative videos inadvertently directed me to your channel and I've learnt a lot. Much respect for you. I hope people could make their own mind up rather than being swayed. Well, may Allah bless them. Ameen. Ameen. Right. Right. What are we? Uh-huh. Hmm. Some people, would I go on a retreat or resort if all expenses were paid for? Message me with it once it's done. Yeah. How was my Eid? Yeah, Allah, Alhamdulillah, Allah be praised. It was good. It was good. Uh-huh. Right. What is friends don't grow on trees, Mufti? Yeah. Of course not. You have to cultivate them. Yeah. Cultivate it, people. Right. What are the sources that permit earrings for men? Right. I've got an old video that goes through all of that in detail, so you can just watch the video. Yeah, it will. Yeah. Let me share. Right. Mufti Saab, your advice regarding approaching prayer with gratitude has made me value prayer much more. Jazakallah for that. Hasham Bajwa, shukran, shukran. Allah bless you. For those that aren't aware, that I did make a book um, in the last for the last 10 nights of Ramadan. I had put it's a brief ebook. I'd put it up on my website www.muftiabulayth.com, and you can go there and just sign up for it and just follow the instructions, and it'll download and it'll come to your email. And it was just some 5 simple steps to make any dua come true. So they are simple yet highly effective steps. So yeah, if you haven't already signed up, and when you go for the book to the website, it'll ask you to sign up. And what I will be doing as well is more. I will be sending kind of, I will be sending certain insights and thoughts via email to the emails I get in the coming weeks, inshallah. So do sign up if you haven't already. One, you can get the book, and that's great. But two, you'll also be a part of that when I do start sending out emails. All right. So, mhm. Did I share the link? No, I didn't. Right. Okay. See, here's me thinking I've already shared it. Ah, right. Okay. Are the sign-ups paused? I Right. Okay. Excellent. Scope. Yep. Do look into that. Awesome. Um. Right. I've shared the link. How to join the show. MD Alamin Hussein. Wa alaikum assalam. Right. What are your thoughts on? Right. Allah. Talukdar. Assalamu alaikum. Love from Bud, wherever that is, but Allah bless you. Ameen. Ameen. Uh-huh. Right. What is going on, people? Right. Ah, God. Hi, 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 hi. You know, what I should have done is brought a bit more. Mufti, have you read The Cosmic Serpent? I have, by Jeremy Narby. It was a brilliant book. Um, it was that book was recommended to me and the whole class when we were on a psychology conference by Dr. David Luke. And I must say, it was, during his kind of his seminar, his kind of presentation, that he brought that book up, The Cosmic Serpent. It is, absolutely loved it. It does have a slight build up to it that, you know, you can halfway, if you don't finish it, it's you can kind of miss the point. So he is going to tie up all the loose ends, but towards the end of the chapter, I mean, towards the end of the book. So you can kind of halfway be thinking, well, where's this going and what's the, but he ties it up pretty well in the end, and I was very impressed. So yeah, I loved it absolutely. Mhm. Mufti, can I gift a friend of fragrance? Of course, yeah, of course you can gift a friend of fragrance. Right. Speaking of fragrances, I'm well into my fragrances, but I was just discussing with someone that it's been a while now. I've not come across something so, just wow, like that. They all seem to still be the more or less the classics. And I haven't really come across anything so spectacular of late. Maybe I'm just getting out of sync with some of the things. I need to, um, yeah, I need to kind of like maybe explore more. But yeah, I do, I do love the Tiziana Terenzi kind of collections. Some amazing, spectacular stuff right there. But once again, nothing new that caught my attention. Right. What is this? Ali Javed. I just love music so much, but I struggle so much because I'm sinning. I try to stop listening, just can't quit. Your videos literally changed my life. Thank you. Okay. May Allah make things easy, huh? जो चाहे तेरा करिश्मा साज करे. What's the what's the other yeah, it slipped my mind. But yeah, it slipped my mind, the poem has. Alameen Hussein Talukdar. Assalamu alaikum. We are following you from Bangladesh. Allahu Akbar. Ahlan wa sahlan wa marhaban. Greetings from the brothers who follow Maliki fiqh of Bangladesh. May Allah bless you all. I must say, I'm kind of so just just ecstatically joyful of how the school of Medina has in these recent years been spreading its light into the east. Yeah, like Bangladesh, I'm really wowed by that. And Pakistan as well to some extent. But I feel that some of the brothers in Bangladesh or they are really on it. Like I'm just really impressed with them. Like they've got a channel dedicated to it. They've had stuff. A concentrated effort. It's just wow. Yeah. Who'd have thought? Who'd have thought? Something else on a separate note that I've been really um so drawn to in these recent times, exploring the legacy of the early Muslims to the Indian subcontinent, and by that, especially the great legends, the Sufi legends that went there. I'm telling you, something happened in the collective consciousness around the kind of, if we're talking like maybe the 600s, 700s, this era, something happens that is so huge. Like you see all these people emerging, you know, from the late, sorry, 500s, going into the 600s, into the 700s, this era, you will find the likes of these great saints that emerge. This the time of people like Ibn Arabi, Muhyiddin Ibn Arabi. You will see uh, Jalaluddin al-Rumi. Uh, you'll see Tabrizi, but you'll also see it's the time of Abdul Qadir al-Jilani, but you'll also see the Indian subcontinent scholars who are like these giants emerging. Like you'll get Sheikh Khwaja Mu'inuddin Chishti, who I was really exploring his whole legacy, and it's just been so wow. He emerges from the Near East, and at the same time as people like Rumi and Soharwardi and all of these people are all, this is that era. And then he comes to India, and it's amazing. Like, he comes to this place, Ajmer in Rajasthan, and he travels through, and um, it's just wow, that this whole legacy, what they set into motion. You have around that era, you have people like Shah Jalal, who's junior to Mu'inuddin Khwaja, but who goes off to Bangladesh. And you'll have people that come after Mu'inuddin, Sheikh Khwaja Mu'inuddin. You'll have people like um, and you've probably heard these names like Qutbuddin Kaki, you'll have Nizamuddin Awliya, you'll have uh, Baba Fariduddin Ganjashakar, you'll have all of these people, and there's so many more that are emerging, and many of whom, by the way, you'll have Bahauddin Zakaria. These people were part of the Sohrawardi tariqah, bringing that there. And you have this whole enlightenment era of Islam. And it's interesting, somebody was mentioning music in the comments, that it was actually um, Sheikh Khwaja Mu'inuddin who, they argue, introduced music into the Chishti kind of order, the Sufi order, as a part of the da'wah. And at his hands, they say, like, approximately something like 900,000 people, like, whether these numbers are exaggerated, but countless people embrace Islam. And it's like, wow. And even though these people were scholars, but it wasn't the academia that was bringing people. It was this light that they brought with them. It was that humanity, the character, the love that they stood for. That this is what really made people rush towards them. And I've just, honestly, it's so wow just going through this stuff, this legacy. Yeah, it is something amazing. And I think this stuff isn't truly um in its, with due with due diligence, I don't feel it's actually spoken of much or taught. Like, I feel these great figures who introduced Islam into these huge, areas that where people in swathes, came to Islam. I feel that this isn't really taught to people. Like the Indian subcontinent, it's like we have a huge amnesia of what happened with Islam there. Like, we have the last 150 years where there's going to be these splits, and people will say, oh, there's been these groups and denominations, and you'll have the Deobandi madrasa and the Breli madrasa and the Ahli Hadith madrasa, and it's as if you go back and then they'll just be silence almost, and then they'll say, well, they'll Shah Waliullah Dahlawi a few hundred years back, if you go to the 1700s, and then it'll just be quiet again. But these people were huge. these were the real people that brought Islam to that region. And yeah, the great Amir Khusro, he's from the generation after. He's influenced by by the students of um Khwaja Mu'inuddin Chishti. And so these people, Sheikh Mu'inuddin is a huge figure, and I feel that these things really should be explored. I will, in coming time, inshallah, share some of these things more with you, and how they are all so intricately tied together. So yeah, let's um, right. What is going on? Hmm. Right, we've got a bunch of people. Let me check that may have tuned in. Let me just check and bring up. We have indeed. All right, we've got here. Let's see, who do we have? We've got Sheikh Saadi. Sheikh Saadi. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam, Mufti. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. Sheikh Saadi. Where are you joining us from?
Yeah, I'm from Dhaka, Bangladesh, and I'm from
Wow.
the Maliki Mazhab group that you just spoke about in Bangladesh. So
Oh,
it's really nice to see you
wow.
just after the Eid. So it's made the Eid
Allah,
perfect. Yeah, thanks.
Allah. Allah bless you, and Eid Mubarak to
Eid
you
Mubarak.
and everyone there. MashaAllah. Wow. So, wow, you're a part of that. I've been really wowed by your efforts in Bangladesh. I really admire them. The way you guys have kind of pulled together with this effort for the School of Medina. I feel that even though in your time this is probably just, it's exciting, it's learning, it's developing, and it may even be fun, but in the years to come, this will be a legacy. This will have a, inshallah, a generational blessing and barakah. I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
Did you mind if
Yes.
I
So,
ask you? I was going to
yeah,
ask you
sure.
what attracted you guys to the School of Medina, all the way in Dhaka. Yeah, how did the light from Medina, the School of Medina, how did you guys catch it over there? Well, talk to me.
Sure, sure. So there's a symbolic aspect to this. So the madhab or the school of Medina spread towards the west, the Al-Maghrib al-Islami, but it's ironic that the Mashriq, where the sun is supposed to rise from, the school of
Hi,
Medina
hi,
didn't come here. So I thought we thought it was time that something happened. And as you were speaking about, I mean, Sufism
I love it. Yeah,
and Ibn Arabi. So Muhyiddin Ibn Arabi said that the one of the signs of the Judgment Day, that many signs, the sun would rise from the west. So he
yeah.
interpreted this as that the knowledge, and so yeah, everything is happening from the west. So something should have be
Something
happening from
has
the
to
east as
happen
well.
from
Yeah,
the Bay of
yeah.
Bengal, yeah. Wow. Watching the sun
Uh,
rise with this whole legacy from there is something else.
Yeah, definitely. And the theoretical aspect of this, I mean, the academic side of things, is that uh, I personally am a truth seeker. I was going to different schools and interpretations of Islamic law and jurisprudence, and went through their philosophies, the methodology, I mean, the usul, and found that, and also through my journey, I found out that there are many, I would say, I don't know if it's the right word, loopholes. I mean, something that other methodologies couldn't explain fully. But I found that the School of Medina, and basically your lectures helped me a lot. I mean, the methodology that we have for differentiating between Sunnah and Hadith, and how the amal or the practice it should be given more status should be held with more strength. This is something that resolved for me a lot of questions that I had. For example, Bukhari, Muslim, these books,
Yeah,
and how they did not reflect many of the things that we uh, people here, we are mostly Hanafis here,
yeah,
do.
yeah. Of course, of
But
course.
but the approach of this, the Amal Ahl al Medina, it explained
mm,
a
mm,
lot of things. For example, the Hadith collection, that movement that you speak about quite often, and the problems that it had. It definitely tried to solve many problems, but it was
sure,
not foolproof. So everything
yeah,
came together, and I think this is the way forward. And also the scholars, leading scholars of the Maliki fiqh in the East and in the West. By East, I mean in the Arab world and also in the
mhm,
Western, I mean Europe and America. They are some people that we look up to. For example, Sheikh Hamza Yusuf and Abdul Hakim Murad, where you live in England.
of
They are
course,
definitely people who have, I mean, great vision, and I think
yeah,
they speak to our hearts directly. And people here, they have a lot of baggages and they don't see through that. So I
mm,
think all of this, as you say, tawfiq, synchronicity, it all came
yeah,
together, and we thought
wow.
that, yeah, let's just start with it.
Ah, wow. I'm glad. Shukran for sharing that with me because I appreciate that. That's yeah, and it is something because it's not just a this is not just something like this is not a sect or a denomination or a this is an entire legacy dating back to the very era of the Salaf, and it's something that has so much it's full of legitimacy and just and just so much wisdom and knowledge as well. And somebody sent me this. So somebody sent me the other day a video, and yeah, who was it? Who was it that sent it to me? But they but it'll come to me. But they said, "Oh, look, you know, I think it was Sheikh Abdurrahman Gori from Germany, but it was the video clip was by what's his name, Sheikh Asim Al Hakim,
Yeah,
the American Saudi, I believe he's Saudi, but
yeah.
yeah. So now he's asked a question that why did Imam Malik pray with his hands at the side?
Yeah,
And
because
so
his hands were broken. Yeah,
yeah,
Bilal, all of them around
so
the
he
same
goes
thing.
on
Yeah,
to explain, with his infinite wisdom.
yeah,
uh, as the true, wise man that he is, he says, look, he says that what it is that Imam Malik, because he opposed the ruler of the age, he was beaten, had his shoulders dislocated, and because his students, some of them, or many of them, were not very intelligent. This is what he actually says. He says because Imam Malik's students were not very intelligent, they couldn't tell. So they thought, oh, Imam Malik's praying with his hands at the side. And they thought that must be the sunnah. So they started praying with their hands at the side, not aware that Imam Malik can't lift his hands because his arms are dislocated. Right. So this,
I mean,
this
this
is
goes
the.
to, yeah,
Yeah, it was so a person listening to this doesn't know whether to laugh or cry at the state of. And then he said, look, we don't follow anybody. We don't disrespect the imams. We respect them, but we only follow Quran wa Sunnah. Hi, 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 hi.
hi,
Quran wa Sunnah, huh? You gotta love the slogans that they say because they're so catchy. Like we only follow Quran wa Sunnah. But the truth is, now, you see, the truth is that that's not the case. Like they are not. It's not that they are following Quran or Sunnah. Sure, everybody is following Quran or Sunnah, but they are following the interpretation of the Quran was Sunnah as dictated to them by their scholars who of recent times, let's say maybe people like Sheikh Albani, Sheikh bin Baz, Uthaymeen, Munajjad Saleh, who was dictated by their teachers going back to Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab, and then really just s- building this movement from the interpretations of Ibn Taymiyyah and Ibn Qayyim al-Jawziyah. That is all it is. It's not that, you see, it's not that they have some kind of a special access to everybody that reads something is reading it through a through a lens. Like there's no such thing as an unadulterated, unfiltered access to revelation. It doesn't work that way. Every person that reads the Quran, reads scripture, or reads or accesses the Sunnah, they are accessing it through a lens, through a kind of and the lens may be their lens, or it may be one that their sheikhs have given to them. So, but it is always a lens, and it's so surprising that a person that this very concept is beyond reach for them. Like to be unaware of one's own biases is it's that's like that's so crippling and so infantile to be that unaware that so for a person to think I unlike the rest of the people I have unadulterated unfiltered pure access to the divine as the divine intends. That's well that's not how it works, because however you see when I read the Quran or you read the Quran, we're reading it with our eyes, with our minds that are understanding what's being said. Now each person will always have some filter, some lens, some biases, just as we all do, just as the school of Medina has its own biases, which are the Medinan biases. But it's not so everybody has to. Now the question is, well, you choose, choose your tools, like choose your lens. But the claim that I have no lens is one of, delusional grandiosity. Like that is just like somebody that is so blind to their own biases that they don't even realize. It's like, no, everybody wears a lens. We are all wearing a lens. We're wearing one according to the school of Medina. You're wearing one according to the school of, the ulama of Najd and of, the Salafi school, let's say. You're wearing one according to that. So that's fine. You welcome to yours. We're welcome to ours. They're welcome to theirs. But to have this thing that oh, Imam Malik and his students must have been pretty dumb that they, like, it is through his students that they had these hadith in Bukhari. That these same students that he's calling dumb are some of the greatest muhaddithin. Like Abdullah ibn Wahab, Abdurrahman ibn al-Qasim. Bukhari declares all these people thiqah. These people, it is through this that the hadith legacy reaches the muhaddithin project, right? Abdullah ibn Wahab was one of the greatest muhaddithin of his time. He was a student with Malik for 30 years. Ibn al-Qasim. To I heard that and I thought, yes, salam. I don't know whether to laugh or cry. And yeah, no, sorry,
Yeah, one
yeah,
common thing. Yeah, sure. Very nicely put. One common thing that also the School of Medina reconciles between many of the things is that one pattern that you'd see when you present the action or the amal of a madhab, and these Salafis would say, maybe the Imam, this hadith didn't reach the Imam. For
okay,
other schools, it's quite difficult to say that, oh, well, it may be the case that the hadith didn't reach him, and so he did not act upon this. But for Imam Malik, the Muwatta is a living example of this. He has the hadith, and he says that we have an amal, a continuous action, a practice, and we think that it's stronger, so we'll go with this. So for Imam Malik
yeah,
and the School of Medina, it's quite straightforward. So this
yeah,
epistemological consistency that the Maliki
yeah.
madhab has, I think, is a great strength. Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's not to say that you see, it's like when this is the whole point, that it's not to say that the other opinions, if based on hadith, are not based on hadith. Imam Malik never rejected, never said, he said that, they may be. When he's asked that, look, oh, the adhan is different, or how come you guys do this different, or how come, for example, there's a waqtu zawal in most of the madhabs that you're not allowed to pray during the zenith prayer. Now in Medina they said that there's no such amal upon this, right? So there is no such thing. I mean, obviously there's a waqt zawal, but it's not haram to pray in waqt zawal, because that's how the people of Medina from the time of the Prophet were doing it. So now this is the Amalu Ahl al-Madina, it's the living tradition of Medina. So the school of Medina is not to say that, well, you guys don't have a valid practice, but it's to say that, sure, but this is the tradition which my teachers, that Imam Malik is saying, inherited from their grandparents who were the companions who lived right here and were buried here.
Yeah.
And this is where the Prophet lived and passed away, right here. So we have the living tradition. So his point is, well, sure, I'm not trying to say, welcome to, you, ahlan wa sahlan, have yours. But this, it's, a beautiful thing is when the person says to him that, um, I want to learn about Islam. And he says, فَعَلَيْكَ, uh, he says, that why that you must then take up residence bil Medina. فإن القرآن لم he says لم ينزل على الفرات or الدجلة, that the Quran did not come down upon the Euphrates or the river Tigris. That, I mean, the Quran came here. It was revealed in Medina, inherited in a collective practice and taught here. Now, sure, we accept people had different perspectives and they went off, but if you had to pick one.
Yeah, and it also goes to show you the importance of context. So Imam Malik was saying that you don't only need the text, but you also need the context. So here is the action, here is the city, here is the practice, here's the environment, things that were like this. So it gives that context that is missing from a just
Yeah.
text only reading.
And just and I'll wrap this because I know we've
Yeah,
spoken a
sure.
lot now, but just because I began by giving the example of Sheikh Asim al Hakim and saying when he was asked about Sadal and he came up with Imam Malik's shoulders were dislocated, you see, this just goes to show the lack of scholarship. Like, it just goes to show, like, look, so for example, the fact that either this person doesn't know or selectively conceals, but that you could look through you could look through the Majmu' of Nawawi, you could look through the books of Ijma, you could look through Ibn Qudama's Mughni, you could look through any major comprehensive uh, book that gives detail of different aqwal. You could go through the Tamheed of Ibn Abdul Bar. You could go through, you would know that when it came to dropping the hands at the side, which we call sadal in the Maliki madhab, and the others call it irsal, right? The sadal, that this was practiced, that this was not only transmitted from certain companions, but let's just say whose madhab was it? It was Sa'id ibn Musayyib's madhab. It was Sa'id ibn Jubayd. It was Urwat ibn Zubayd. It was transmitted from Hassan al-Basri, from Awza'i, from you've got it from Layth ibn Sa'ad. You've got it from Ibrahim al-Nakhai, if I haven't mentioned him, but also one of the opinions within the Hanbali madhab. Like, you've got obviously it's the madhab of Imam Malik. Like, what were all of these people's shoulders pulled out? I mean, and this thing that Imam Malik's shoulders were pulled out is absurd. I mean, whether his shoulders got injured in the beating, I don't, it's possible, but generally his shoulders during his lifetime were fine. Like, whether they were injured or not during a particular thing, I don't know. But the point is, during his lifetime, he lived a reasonably healthy, long life. His shoulders were working fine. He could move his arms. He used to teach right up until his final kind of dying moments. He would hold a class. He would have the books. He would kind of bring students in. He would trade. He was a successful trader. He was not dislocated and like disabled sitting at home. He wasn't. I mean, whether he had injuries, he did have injuries during that point, but they weren't in the. Some people have said that some people have argued, I get it, that some people, because Imam Malik refrained from attending the masjid for the last 25 years of his life. So, people try to make sense of that. So he wouldn't really go to the Jummah or anything. Now, so the issue was that, well, why did Imam Malik not do this? And so some people said, when they asked Imam Malik, his actual response was he just doesn't want to talk about it. So now the some people said, well, maybe he suffered from incontinence. Like maybe his bladder got damaged when they whipped him and beat him. And so some people tried to come up with this as an now that's not the response that Imam Malik himself gives when they ask him. So, because he continues to teach at home, he teaches every day. In fact, he has three segments of the day. He divides it into. He teaches hadith. He teaches. He sits outside. He has his kind of chair. He sits inside and does the hadith. And so now he himself, in one of the narrations, speaks about the he says he hints towards that if that he sees things he's not happy with, and he's the type of person that he feels that he can't be silent, like he will just he'll get irritated and he'll just speak. And so you know what, he's not going to even put himself in that position. So this is what it hints towards, as Qadiyat shows in the Tartib al-Madarik. But I just thought, wow, like, how can you not know all of these ulama in Islam had this position of Sadlul Yadain and just think it's one person's? But yeah, Sheikh Saadi, and an awesome name, by the way, Sheikh Saadi, Allahu Akbar.
Thank you very
So,
much.
right, okay, so
Jazakumullah khairan. Assalamu alaikum.
we'll stay in touch. Allah bless you. Assalamu alaikum. People, that was Sheikh Saadi from Dhaka, Bangladesh, with the whole Medinan school revolution going on over there. We've got here Muhammad Hussein, I take it. Right. Let me just. Assalamu alaikum. Muhammad Hussein, I can't hear you. I think you might have it on mute. There
Walaikum
you
assalam
are.
wa rahmatullah, Sidi. How are you?
Allah, I'm good. I'm good. You see, where are you joining us from? You had it on
Um,
mute, but although I'm sure we could have still heard you from our hearts and souls that are connected.
for sure,
Allah.
for sure, for sure. I'm also joining you from Dhaka, Bangladesh. I was
Oh,
going to bank, and Sheikh Sadi just messaged me that Sidi is
Allahu
on
Akbar.
live,
You
so
know what?
let's
I'm gonna
try to
I'm gonna
connect.
have to visit Dhaka, Bangladesh.
For
I'm gonna
sure,
have
Sidi,
to
for
visit,
sure.
yar.
I was just
Allah.
like, okay, I can go to the bank later. I have to connect with Mufti
Don't
first.
worry. See, whilst you're sitting here, gracing us with your presence and nur, Allah is putting barakah in your bank account. Don't worry about it.
For sure,
So,
inshallah. Sayyidi, I
mashallah.
was, we are trying to spread School of Medina in our country, and it's been 3 years, and we are always in debt to you because the first response and support gave to us is you, because we had this
Yeah.
issue with, the Mudawwana issue, and we had
I
to
made a
email
video
you.
on it. Yeah, I
Yeah, that was
remember.
the first one. And then, mashallah, we have got Sidi Iqbal, Muhammad Iqbal,
Yeah,
and he
Siddiq
is an
Bal is a
excellent.
legend,
Yeah,
honestly.
it's for sure, for
He's
sure.
such
Yeah.
I'm so happy and glad. Honestly, it gives happiness to my heart that you have access to Sheikh Siddiq Bal. Because Sheikh Siddiq Bal is sometimes he's just, because he's low profile and he just does his thing, and sometimes he's like, well, no, I just do this and this is all I teach. And he's not. So sometimes if like I asked him on the show, can some other people join your class, and he said no. And I thought, wow. So this is, you see, so I'm so glad that you guys have that.
Yeah, because the thing is amazing about him is his humbleness. He's really humble.
Yeah.
Whenever I message him, he replies back, and he never ignores anyone's messages. Like, it's really amazing because I can imagine like how many people is messaging him every day, and the
And
thing is going
and
through
he an
recently.
ocean.
Yeah, for sure, exactly.
Years ago, let me tell you, Muhammad, years ago, yeah, in our slightly up Javani ke dinon mein, when we were slightly younger, shall we say, I sometimes, right, I would, I've always had this thing that I love learning, like rare and interesting kind of things that are like, wow, okay, eye catching, and they're gems, like you don't expect them. And I would end up learning all these kind of inner dissents and differences and amazing opinions that some Malikis had in the Basri school of the Malikis and in the Baghdadi school and this one time I remember learning something quite like unique that I was like, huh, so like I know, oh, like does I doubt it any people would know this kind of stuff. You get a bit, in the days of when knowledge is a bit, it's a bit fresh, and often we get beguiled by the ego, you see. So I was thinking, yeah, what I know. So one of the days I went to visit Sheikh Siddiq Bal, and
Inshallah. Inshallah.
when I was there at his house, so by the way, where he lives in Birmingham was the street where I grew up. So now I obviously live on a different end of the city, but that's the street where I grew up. And so I went to, but this is at a later stage when I'd done all my Mufti studies and everything, and I'm Maliki. So I'd gone to visit him, and this one time in between, whilst I'm talking, I thought, time to kind of ilm drop my, like drop an ilm bomb. So
Yeah,
I thought
yeah.
I'm gonna surprise him, and I said to him, I said, Sheikh, I was reading about. And I open up this mas'ala. Honestly, I was shocked to know that not only did he know the mas'ala, he knew the people that I was speaking about, like historically, he knew the khilaf on it. I was really, wow, I was humbled. And wowed. I thought, yeah, here's me thinking I'm some kind of like a oof, like I'm doing it. But there, honestly, he is an ocean in what he
I think
has.
the best part and the scary part of him is whenever he says that I never take any gifts from students.
Yeah, he
Exchange
doesn't.
of,
Yeah.
yeah, because
He
I
doesn't
tried to.
take, yeah,
Yeah, never. I tried to text him several times and I stopped. That's Sibi, I want to give you
yeah,
something, and I stopped because he would say no. So I was really scared that he would say no. I
yeah.
was yeah. That's the thing. I was trying
And
to connect with
he
him.
doesn't take any, he doesn't charge. He
Yeah,
doesn't
yeah, yeah.
years ago in my teens I started studying Arabic with him, and at one point I started working. So I was having some, for the time, some money coming in. And so I said to him, oh, I took some money to pay him. And I must have been only 17. And he said to me, I remember, like I was sitting in his front room and I put some money out. And he said to me, what's that for? So I said, Sheikh, it's to kind of pay you for. And he said, put it away. And he said that and he said, like, he said to me, don't do that again. And he just said to me that, look, I don't take money for this. And yeah, and till today, he has, in all right, he has the right to. Every person, like, it's not, look, in Islam, I know the Maliki have written on this quite extensively, um, that there's no harm in Islam in in taking in charging for your time. There's no harm. Like, in fact, it's a better value and it frees people up, because obviously they have to make a living. They either have to be out there working, or they can, whilst they're teaching, charge, and then that allows them to free time. In fact, it even makes people, like, to be honest, I personally feel it makes people more committed. When, like, let's say, for example, if I was to open, like, look down here, we've got my Patreon. Now, my Patreon offers one-to-ones with people now, but it would charge them. Now, very openly, when I've been asked about this, I've said, one, I value my own time, but two, I know only people who are serious and committed are going to come. I would get anyone that would just jump. Like, if I just said, you know what, I'll just teach, yeah, I'll just be on here, I'll get everyone just coming. And they'll just be time wasters. There'll be people who just want to argue with you. There'll be people who just want to debate. There'll be people who just want to maybe just, I don't know, just they've got nothing better. And there'll be genuine people as well. But you see, when you put some value on it, it filters everything out. But that said, Sheikh Siddiq Bal has been consistent in these last, almost like, I don't know, 30 years of his.
Probably
Wow.
whenever he got the orders from his sheikh. Sidi Hamza.
Yeah.
He says that.
Mm,
So it's amazing that we can connect with this kind of people, and thanks to you that we actually got his name from your Monday night, from one of
yeah.
the Monday nights. So
Yeah.
because we were really in a bad situation because we didn't have any teacher,
No.
and we are trying to kickstart a madhab. That's a very big thing,
Yeah,
and
it is a
alhamdulillah
very big thing.
everything, yeah, alhamdulillah everything plays out pretty well. So
Yeah, and I'm so glad. Honestly, I'm so glad, Alhamdulillah, that yeah, that you guys have that access. But yeah, awesome stuff, Hussein. I appreciate it. Shukran. And yeah, much love to you guys, man, in Bangladesh, Dhaka. And I see this sun just shining from the that. You know what? Some point, chakkar marna padega yaar. We're gonna have to
inshallah,
come
we'll,
visit.
we'll connect you with your patron, inshallah, Sayyidi. And if you want
Inshallah.
to come,
No.
we'll try to sponsor the whole trip for you,
Oh, वाह वाह
inshallah.
वाह क्या बात है हाँ
We'll see
क्या
each other soon,
बात है
inshallah. Just
inshallah
keep us in
much
your
love
prayer.
man.
Much,
Allah
yeah.
bless you guys. Take care. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
Pe- People, that was Muhammad Hussein, also from Dhaka, Bangladesh, and part of the Maliki Madhab. Yeah, it's been a lot on that, but you see, it was just coincidental. It was just serendipity, people. That's what it is. This was unplanned. It was tawafuq, this tawfiq and synchronicity. We have Lucy Wynne Jones. Assalamu alaikum, Lucy.
Walaikum
How's it
assalam
going?
warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Yeah, I'm fine, thanks, Mufti. And you?
I'm good. I'm good. Eid Mubarak,
Eid
Lucy.
Mubarak to you too. Yeah, yeah, I've been sharing in Discord about some monuments facing Mecca, like ancient British and Irish monuments that have alignments to Mecca on them.
Okay, I've not seen that. Did you share it on the group? Did you?
Yeah, I shared it on
Okay.
Discord, so I'm
Oh
just trying
wow. Okay.
to
Yeah. Well,
screen
I'll
share.
check that later. But yeah, sure. If you can screen share, that would be great. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm
Let's
just yeah, this is the furthest I can zoom into here. I
sure.
cannot
Let
see
me
you
add.
just yet.
Let me.
Okay.
Okay. So we've got that there. What are we looking at? Talk to us, Lucy.
Okay, so where the hand icon is, that's one stone at Stonehenge on one side of the stone circle. And
Okay.
here's
Yeah.
another stone at the opposite side,
Mhm.
and that aligns to the Qibla.
Is it not to the equinox as well? As
Oh,
well.
yeah, I think so. But there is an Irish monument that aligns just to the
But is
Qibla and
that the
not the
Qibla as
equinox.
well?
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
sorry.
also the
This
Qibla.
is this Stonehenge or is this in Ireland?
This is Stonehenge, as Amesbury is
Stonehenge.
the
Yeah.
nearest
Stonehenge. Yeah.
location,
Yeah.
so that
Yeah.
is
Yeah. In
definitely
Stonehenge.
Stonehenge.
So the Stonehenge, I think these like these far out kind of megaliths that are standing, if I recall correctly, I believe they also align perfectly with the equinox.
Yeah,
They do. So surprise. So if Qibla is also in that direction, wow. Okay,
yeah.
it is it? That is
Yeah, the
very
Qibla's the
interesting.
same direction as per the diagram.
Wow. Okay. That's
Yeah.
very fascinating indeed. So, people, if you're visiting Stonehenge and you're not sure which way the Qibla is, just don't climb on top, just don't knock over those megalith structure. Don't kind of knock them over in a domino effect.
Yeah.
But, right, at least you now know that they are pointing towards the Qibla. Were there any others as well, or was it just this one?
Okay, I'm just trying to find a diagram of Dombeg. I might be mispronouncing the Irish Gaelic. I'll just need to screen share again.
No
So I'm
problem.
just going to okay, I'm just going to the here, just waiting. Yeah, this Dombeg stone, this like Stonehenge, it follows the same pattern. There's these two
All right,
stones.
let me add one moment. Right,
Yeah,
there we are. Right, okay. So where is this?
Dombeg stone circle in Ireland. I might be
This is in Ireland.
mispronouncing.
Okay. Wow.
And the
Okay, it's in
Qibla is
Ireland.
slightly different and is not towards the equinox. So the kib.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, it doesn't show the Qibla exactly, but it's not towards the equinox, which thus proves my theory.
Which way would the qibla be here? It's
Okay,
going to be
so
where the red line is.
yeah, where the red line is here, and it starts from this stone here, where my mouse pointer is, to this stone here.
Yeah. Okay, that's the qibla. Hmm.
Yeah, and yeah, it was quite a shock when I discovered this, and yeah, I actually found it out through some dreams I had, but
Oh,
don't wish
wow.
to go
Okay.
I don't wish to go
Hmm.
down the rabbit hole of dreams and stuff, as that's a whole
Dream
nother.
interpretations.
Yeah, and yeah, I kept on having dreams about monuments having alignments to Mecca, and then I realized, I did
Wow.
my research and realized Stonehenge has an alignment to Mecca. I saw various prophets, peace be upon them, in dreams. Not that I, anyway. Okay, I'm just embarrassed that I said that, but it
So,
is it is what
n-
it is
no,
what it
no, no,
is.
no, no need to be embarrassed. Not
But
at all. Is
yeah,
somebody, Lonzetta just said, I'll use Stonehenge as a sutra. The sutra is where people basically they have something in front so people can pass by and they
yeah.
pray. So, yeah. Well, okay, I see. Right, yeah, this,
Some some people have said that it's a miracle. What's your take on that?
what that the directionality of these things and the qibla is that or
Um,
something, or are you talking about something else?
oh, the exact same topic on
Okay,
Stonehenge
yeah.
and
Uh,
monuments.
right. Well, I wouldn't say that. Well, first of all, I mean, these things would see. The question is, some of these structures may predate. Depends on our understanding of how far back the qibla is going, but
Yeah,
obviously the very recent Kaaba, they would clearly predate all of them, going back several thousands of years.
yeah.
Now, s- I'm sure some of these structures would predate Ibrahim alayhi salam.
Alayhi
Now,
salam.
we're placing, let's say, Ibrahim alayhi salam approximately about 4,000 years ago. So some of these may predate that. Now, the
Mhm.
question would be that, okay, was there a so some people have argued that there Ibrahim alayhi salam is already uh, building the Kaaba on a structure that already, even if it wasn't fully there, but he's kind of dug out the foundations of something that was there, and he's
Yeah,
built on top of that. So وَإِذْ يَرْفَعُ إِبْرَاهِيمَ الْقَوَاعِدَ مِنَ الْبَيْتِ وَإِسْمَعِيلَ.
yeah.
So this now, so if there was a previous or prior existing foundation that was built by someone before. So now some people have said that may go right back to Adam alayhi salam, or it may
Alayhi
go to
salam.
other people, or it may go to other people, let's say before Ibrahim alayhi salam. But the point is that, okay, let's say, so now the question is that these point to, like, one of them with the equinox, let's say it's pointing to the same direction as Mecca. Do I think that that is a miracle? I would think it's more a synchronicity of events, that it's more a harmony that
Mhm,
prior people had with relation to uh direction, and a kind
mhm,
of a sanctity of directions. So you do find that this is, if you go back many thousands of years, there seems to be people are more in tune with that. So even the now this is the thing, you see, even the Kaaba that is then built. So the
yeah.
Kaaba is built in a certain shape.
Mhm,
Now, it's very likely that what was the foundations that, let's say, Ibrahim is building upon was not in the shape of a cube. That
mhm,
was just some foundation which Ibrahim alayhi salam is building then as a cube. But you see, the direction of the Kaaba itself, like, I mean the actual Kaaba itself. So Ibrahim alayhi salam has built it in a way that you see the wall that the Kaaba points towards it points towards the star Suhail, which is Canopus. Now, and that's an important point. So in the Arabian Peninsula, after sunset, Canopus is arguably the brightest star that you see right on the horizon. So it's in that direction. So all of the very classical Muslim scholars who speak about how to find the direction of the Qibla, before you had compasses. So before
Yeah.
compasses, so compasses don't appear till a few hundred years after Islam.
Mhm.
So prior to that, how were they determining the Qibla?
Mhm.
Now they will say, well, okay, broad direction. So you have to remember that in the time of the Prophet ﷺ,
Solid.
the the way of orienteering direction is very different to how we have it today.
Mhm.
So today we have a very clear thing like northeast, southwest, and these directions, and then some people then broke them off into the kind of northwest, northeast, and so on. But you
Yeah.
have to remember, in the time of the Prophet ﷺ, these directions don't exist like that.
Mhm.
You don't even have the northeast, southwest like this.
Mhm.
So you just have, like, they will say that they will say the direction that the sun rises from,
Mhm.
the direction the sun sets in,
Mhm.
and then you have you will have the shimal, and you
Mhm.
will have the south. Now the shimal and the south, the north and the south, if you like, which becomes the north and the south later on, but the shimal was also the left because it was on the left side. But you see, these things were often named after a certain wind that would come from that direction. Yes. So
Subhanallah.
yeah, and this was actually, the more you go. So, for example, Janub is a wind that would come from that direction, and then that's the name. That's what actually Janub means. But later on, as it went on to take the meaning of south,
Mhm.
but it's difficult for us to imagine because these things are such a given in our lifetime. But in the Prophet's time, they didn't have these directions like just head north and do this and do this. So how would they be guided? How would they? So they would go with the natural body, the natural order of things around them, like the direction the sun rises, the direction the sun sets. They would use the stars. Allah
Mhm.
says in the Quran, وَبِالنَّجْمِ هُمْ يَهْتَدُونَ. See, they would
Mhm.
look at stars and say, this particular star, this constellation is in a particular place at this time of the year. So we
Mhm.
know to head in that direction. So
Mhm.
this is because compasses are not appearing till centuries later. So
Mhm.
Suhail was a very important point as well, that many of the very early Muslim um, you know, orienteers, if you like, that gave
Mhm.
directions on how to find the Qibla, they would often say that you look out for Suhail. Now, Canopus, by the way, in the northern hemisphere can't be seen.
Mhm.
Like, we can't see it in the northern hemisphere, but you can see it in the southern hemisphere. So this is an important. So there is a very natural order of things that is tied together. Obviously,
Mhm.
as time progressed, we've forgotten that. Even
Mhm.
Muslims, we don't fully today know how they did it. So when you ask Muslims today that how did the Muslims of the past, before they invented the astrolabe, before they invented the compass, how did they used to find the directions and the qiblas, and like they'll say, well, they clearly did it. We know they did it because they built mosques in that direction, and the foundations of the mosque still exist in some places.
Mhm.
But how did they do it? We don't exactly know, because it's like the new knowledge replaced the previous knowledge,
Mhm.
and so it kind of almost wiped it out. So people don't exactly know how, but arguably I would say that it was most likely it was all to do with constellations.
Mhm.
That's how they did it. And so this is, you see, also Dan Gibson, where he Dan Gibson was wrong in his Makkah question, where he's trying to say Makkah was Petra. But But you see, where he lists in his book the 160 mosques that he goes and he tries to check their foundations, and he shows the maps and why, out of all of these mosques all around the world, the ancient mosques, the foundations are pointing towards, he feels, that direction, but they're more so, he feels, pointing towards Petra than Mecca, and some are towards Mecca, and this is his hypothesis, which I've got a video debunking that.
Yeah.
But even in that, he will say, for example, he says, well, he's been researching, well, what have the Muslims said? How did they used to figure out the direction of the Qibla? Because like there's an ancient mosque in China, for example, the foundations point to it. Like, how did they know which part of the world was that direction? So he'll say as well that we don't seem to know how they did it, but we know that they did it though, but we've
Mm-hmm.
lost, there's a disconnect. And I've said that it is most likely through the constellations. That's what they did it with. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, and also my dad helped me do some calculations regarding it and explained loads of complex mathematics, as he used to be an expert in that field. So he said he gave some really complicated sums about how to calculate that based on longitude and latitude.
Yeah, but you have to keep in mind that this, at the time of early Islam, there is no longitude and latitude, and it predates all of this stuff. So it doesn't exist at that point. So this is why today people, it's, we have so many filters that we can't even understand the world, the kind of, the very organic world that in which the prophet lived. And we think we understand it, but we have so many filters, because the companions and those people, they had a way of understanding the world which is, like, to us, we have to remove so many things to get to it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, like somebody, you see, somebody said here that um like they could have just built them in the wrong direction by accident. That's ridiculous. That's absurd. It's far too, you see, it's far above like, it's impossible that they
Mm-hmm.
built them just by guess. They didn't just say, oh, it's in that direction, and they got it right. Everywhere they went, it doesn't work like you couldn't do that now. Like you couldn't, like I could, like if somebody just, like, let's just say you walked in, let's say you just walked in a countless, in like what appears to be for a while a never-ending field. Let's say
Mm-hmm.
you walk through a desert where
Yeah.
all the directions appear equally confusing and confounding. So you're not clear. There's no landmarks, events. Like
Mm-hmm.
you can't see a tower there and some ocean there. So you don't know what direction you're walking in. Now, let's say you did that for a couple of days.
Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't know left from right. I mean, you know left from right, but you wouldn't know what direction you're going in. You just know,
Yeah.
I'm just walking in this direction, because especially now you take away the compass and you take away even the concept of north, east, south, west. You take that
Yeah.
away, like you don't have these words in that way. Then how do you keep track? And they clearly did. I mean, you have like Sahaba reaching China, Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas, and you'll have, so people clearly knew what they were doing. The
Mm-hmm.
question is, well, we just don't know how they did it. So people today, and it's an arrogance. This is an arrogance that we have today, that we somehow think the people of the past were stupid. Like we think, no, but we do, but people do. People think, and Graham Hancock speaks loads about this, that we somehow think that people in the past were very primitive, and therefore, because we read books and we have computers, we are somehow so far more sophisticated. Now, in some things, that may be true. Like, obviously, they didn't have computers. So, yes, in this kind of lifestyle, we are, but they were incredibly intelligent and intricate in their affairs. But in certain things, like for example, when it came to nature,
Mm-hmm.
they were so intelligent that we are so disconnected from that. Like we wouldn't, like we just can't fathom the way they could understand things.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
actually is more difficult to read cuneiform and hieroglyphs as they have more letters or characters, whatever you call it, than the commonly used alphabets today because of the vast number of characters used. So it's inaccurate. So I agree with you on that. And yeah, and also cuneiform's a bit more difficult to read because each character represents at least two letters or can represent one letter or two letters. And yeah, not that I anyway that not that I'm an expert in cuneiform, and hieroglyphs are possibly
Are
more
you, are you
difficult.
just being are you just being humble, Lucy? That not that you're an expert in that.
Well, not as if I've got any PhD in it or in
Come
the topic or
on, I'm
anything.
sure you can decipher the hieroglyphs and the cuneiform.
Yeah, but there's a determinative at the end of each word, and then there's
Mhm,
the sounds that make up the word. So that's
mhm.
what.
Yeah.
So for example, there it would be a bit like having a letter and then a determinative. So a bit like the letter CT, and then a picture of a cat would indicate that's a cat. That would be
Mm,
like the English way of
mm.
reading the word cat if it were, but in hieroglyphs it's different. But
Or it would be like a bit like almost saying, I'm assuming, like let's say the letter H, but then a picture of a cat, but to understand that it's hat in this case. Like they would use. I'm under the impression that obviously they would also like you would have a kind of like a pictogram, but also the
mhm,
symbols would at time not just be, they wouldn't just be kind of like, they wouldn't just be pictograms, sorry, they'd be like ideograms. So you would have
yeah,
they would lean in on words, but not always just be symbolic, like pictures of things. But maybe they're just taking a certain what is it, a certain syllable from that word, and therefore using that picture but putting this letter. So you have a, which is quite very complex. I mean, if we had to read like that today, how fast would our reading be? So
and also
yeah,
it's possible for a human to learn either cuneiform or hieroglyphs, maybe even both, like some people have,
of course, yeah,
because the Chinese script, which
yeah,
involves
exactly.
thousands upon thousands of characters, to be fluent, it probably requires at least knowing 70,000 or something, or maybe even 10,000 to be, depending on the
Yeah,
level you wish to go
I'm
at.
so wowed by, I should, inshallah, if God willing, once certain preoccupations clear up, take back up, the Mandarin, because I've just been so wowed by their language, just the fact that people can read it, which they clearly can, but I'm just so wowed, I can never get over that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing.
So
Right. Well, oh,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Okay. Well, I was. Mhm.
and also I was reading a book by one author who said that some of these ancient stones were called Saracen stones or Sarsen stones, referring to Muslims, or also known as
Mm,
Saracens in medieval
Saracen.
Europe.
Yeah, but I think some of these would predate medieval times, wouldn't they? They would be
Yeah,
very ancient, yeah. But maybe the Muslims discovered them first, or they had an interest to them and thereby became associated or affiliated to Saracens. Um, but obviously, the Muslims wouldn't have invented these things because these things would be very ancient kind of structures.
yeah.
Yeah, but shukran, shukran. I'll wrap this up, but just a very simple point. Somebody did ask about the Dan Gibson thing. I do have a video explaining. It is on YouTube, explaining how and why Dan Gibson was wrong, and it's called a reply to Dan Gibson. And I explain how you see that the reason why these people get where they manage to get to with their
Mhm,
hypotheses, it's because some of the things that they're saying do actually correlate to reality. Like, as in, there are half truths or partial truths in their hypothesis. But
mhm,
just so I mentioned from the very get go in that video that Dan Gibson, in certain things, he is right, but he's right for the wrong reasons. So this is the point now. You see, So to the imperceptible eye, like to people, it's those half or partial truths that mesmerize them.
Mm.
But if you put the whole picture together, you actually realize he's wrong, but he's got this information right, and this was the real answer. So I do
Mhm.
go into the history of that, and I explain why these things were the way they were, and even those structures, why some of those structures were more aligned towards Petra than they were to Mecca, and the reason for that, and why did Mecca have the same name as Petra, or as al Qura? Why was it fashioned in the same direction as Petra? All of these things I go into it, and it actually makes a lot of sense once you read the actual history and the ancestral grandparent, the great grandparent of the Prophet, ﷺ, the ancestral
Awesome.
Qusay, and his whole legacy, and how he lived in Petra and returns, and his whole struggle in what was then this this settlement of Mecca, and how he reestablishes it and builds it, fashions it in the way that he had seen in Petra, and hence names it al Qura, because that was also called al Qura. So
Mhm.
it's not actually just as many people, for example, went from England to America and named cities after,
Mhm.
like New York is named after York, and you'll get New England and Cambridge, and uh, you'll get,
There's even a
they will
Birmingham,
rename
Alabama.
Birmingham, Alabama. So the point is that people rename things after they. It's not to say if a person, for example, I don't know, let's say in time to come in the future, they said, well, oh, actually, there was no Birmingham in Alabama. It was actually just Birmingham in England, and people mistook that. Let's say all of this gets eradicated, and they say, well, people mistook it because look, Birmingham was really like this, and so all of these things. It's not that there isn't a he actually catches on to certain partial truths. He just doesn't know it. Like he thinks, oh, he's kind of unlocked some other mystery, but it is a fascinating mystery on why Mecca was fashioned in that way, because this is going generations and generations and generations before the Prophet, because there is and when Qusay has to take over, there's a huge battle which he wins that battle, but in that battle there is a huge, obviously there's Makkah is just a small settlement, but there's devastation. There's obviously destruction to whatever little settlement that there was. So he rebuilds it, and he rebuilds it in a way to fashion and to mirror the settlement that he knew from Sham, which was Petra. Hence, they referred to this Kaaba as the Kaaba Shamia, because it was then fashioned in that way. So you get this whole, now people catching on to these words, like why was the Kaaba called the Kaaba Shamia? Because it was called that, because not because it was in Sham, but because it was resembled, or it was fashioned by the great ancestor of the Prophet in that way, the settlement, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Okay, yeah. So right, I hope that makes a lot of sense. But I've got a very detailed video, and you can watch that. Right, let's wrap that up. Oh, I just remembered as well that when we're speaking about the winds and how the winds were named
Yeah.
after directions, in Spain, it was the Levanta was the name of the wind in
Mhm.
that came from the Levant, and you have in the Alchemist, Paul
Mhm.
Coelho, he's referring to it in the protagonist. He speaks often of the Levant, the wind coming from, coming from the east, but it's from the Levant region. So they
Mhm.
name it in that direction. I just remembered that just when, as I thought I'd mention it as a point. Right. Okay. We'll catch. Shukran for joining us, Lucy.
You're
Allah bless
welcome.
you.
I
Yep.
mean, you
And
too.
we'll catch up soon. Salaam alaikum. People, that was Lucy from Wales. All right. It has got um right, yeah. Uh, you see, somebody mentioned that there's an article that debunks the whole Dan Gibson thing. I think I don't know if anybody else caught on to this whole. So when I responded to the Dan Gibson theory, I'm not aware of anybody that responded in that way. I'm not saying that to kind of big myself up, um, but I'm not aware of anyone that responded in that comprehensive way. So people just responded by saying Dan Gibson was wrong, but they didn't argue for where he was right. Because he's not just 100% wrong in what he's saying. He's obviously presenting facts. Now, you could just say, well, this is wrong. But then how do you answer those facts? You need to answer them. So I don't know. But at the time when I looked everywhere, so you do have the mathematical explanations and you have other things. And you have the article written by, what was it, Dr. The mathematician. But so they do disprove his theories, but they don't answer. They're not coming from an Islamic point to answer. Well, how do you answer his points about Mecca being referred to in the as a Shami essence and having these names of reflecting the names of Petra and having all of these things. I hadn't come across anyone so that was something that, by the grace of God, Allah, what can I say? Allah, He teaches us. He teaches us. But that was something that was when I was really just so zoned into what he was doing and trying to understand it, that with the research that I was conducting, this was what kind of dawned on me, this realization that and then when I started to explore that, it all started to make sense. Everything fell in place. I thought, wow, okay, now it all makes sense. Now there's an answer to every question that he's put forward. So as opposed to just saying, well, you're wrong, but answering all these questions, it all kind of came into play. Yeah. Okay. Right, people, we're going to we've got right, it's got very late. You know what? Let's wrap this up, people. I've got it's gonna be subah now, and I've got also a reasonably early start. It has been a pleasure as always. Allah bless you all. Right, I'll just see some of the comments. Right. Yeah, right. I've answered all of that. No point going into it. Right. So, guys, if you do need to reach out, sure, message me on Instagram. I do try to respond. If you need a more focused, detailed interaction, then you can go to patreon.com/MALM. That's MALM. And you can book a one-to-one consultation from there. You can also be part of the Discord server. Other than that, if you haven't already signed up to the email list, then you should do. I can see here that Scorpio did say, look, the form is back up for subscribing on the website. So that's muftiabulayth.com. You can go on there and you can just put in your sign up, and it will also give you the ebook that I wrote on how to make your du'as come true. But you will also become a part of the emailing list that I will then be emailing out to some of my insights. People, let's call it a wrap. Allah bless you all. Yeah, take very good care of yourselves. Remember me in your du'as. And try to say a kind du'a for people. See, everybody can ask for themselves. But true, the art of giving is the essence of du'a, is if you make it for someone else. Allah. Salam alaikum, people. Khuda hafiz.